Okay, so guys, can you able to hear or not? That's please confirm both sides. Yes, very good. And yes, very good. Thank you. And you can able to see the screen, right? So here it is. I added a new hard disk. So a new hard disk means it's a fresh hard disk. The hard disk does not contain any format or anything. Fresh hard disk only. Okay. So when you attach a hard disk to your motherboard, so and you start your PC, when your operating system sends there is a new hard disk, and immediately it will ask what type of hard disk it is, what type of hard disk, what the initialization of hard disk. You have to initialize what hard disk it is. You have to initialize what hard disk it is. So you will initialize as a either it is MBR type or GPT type of hard disk. So what is the initialization of hard disk? It is either it is MBR disk or a GPT disk. So first of all, disk initialization. When you attach a disk, okay, so disk should be initialized. Okay, so either it is as a MBR type or GPT type. What is MBR? Anyone knows? Abbreviation is Master Boot Record. Okay, GPT means GUID partition table. GUID partition table. So in MBR, so if I take a disk and I initialize the disk as a MBR type of disk, so what happened here? I can make only four primary partitions. Got it? So I can make only four primary partitions only. What about the leftover? You can't do anything with it. For example, you take a 500 GB hard disk. You take a 500 GB hard disk. Here I created a something like a first partition is 50 GB, next one is 50, next one is 100, next one is 100. For example, so 300 GB completed. So the remaining is 200 GB remaining. So you cannot create any partition or you can't put any data in this 200 GB partition. Once four primary partitions are completed, so you cannot create any other kind of partitions here. So that is a MBR. Only four primary we can able to create it. Four primary only we can able to create it. Next one. You may get a question, that one is, sir, I have a 6 or a 8 or a maybe a 9 drives are there. One is C drive, D drive, E drive, F drive, G drive, H drive, and only on a single hard disk only I'm getting 10 drives are there. So how come you can tell only four primary partitions? Of course, you can have a multiple drives, but not all primary partitions. Of course, you have to check it if it is a MBR and GPT. Second one is better to check it. If it is an MBR, check it which one is primary, which one is logical partition. So I'll come back to that one again. Listen carefully. Here, I took an hard disk, and as I said, we can create a four primary partitions only. Right? I said 4 primary partitions only we can create it. Like this is the primary partition, C drive, 50 GB. So my disk size is 500 GB hard disk. It is a 500 GB hard disk. Listen carefully, 500 GB. Okay. And this is also something around 50 GB D drive. In Windows wise, I'm telling. In a Linux also same thing, but drive letters will be changed. E drive, 50 GB primary. Then if 150 GB only I covered here. What about a remaining size 350 GB left over here, right? So either I will create the third one, so sorry, fourth one as a single primary. So either I will create the remaining part as a primary, otherwise I will plan properly. So first C drive 200 GB, remaining are 100 GBs, or maybe like that 150 GB 150 GB, like that I can create four partitions, right? So first of all, like a 200 GB for C drive, remaining is 100 now four primaries are completed. At least like that we can plan earlier like this, or you can do like this. So remaining is become so whatever the requirement, based on that we'll take it and we'll give the one primary to all remaining space. But that is a very old type. So what is the new type? So I will not a new type, from Windows Vista 7 onwards, at least from Windows 7 onwards, um, automatically third one will different. Okay, okay. Here it is. My condition: four primaries we can able to create it. I created a three primary and make the second one, the remaining part, as a extended partition. So this partition we call it as a extended. Okay, so first one three primaries are completed. Instead of creating fourth primary, understand, three primary partitions I created. Instead of creating fourth primary, I make it as a extended. I told this is the extended partition. In the extended partitions, you can create multiple logical partitions also. You can create multiple logical partitions inside, like this. Okay. So the partitions are here, they call it as a logical partitions. Okay. So for example, this is another 50 GB, a 100 GB, or maybe it is a 60 GB, like that. Like F drive, G drive, H drive, I drive, like that will keep going. So how much space we required for each partition, we can able to create it. Okay. So as I said earlier, so MBR, 1 second, I will remove these things also. As I said, it is 500 GB. MBR means master boot record. Okay. Mike Pollen, no, in go to meeting. Okay, okay, okay. No audible. Check your mic. Okay, mic is good here. 1 second, I will turn off and turn on it. So go to meeting, guys. Can you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Now okay, right? Here also. In GPT, we can create 128 partitions. We can create four primary partitions or three primary and one extended partition. Only one extended is there. Extended partition is there. In extended, in extended, we create logical. What happened to it? We can create multiple logical partitions. Okay, we can create a multiple logical partitions. So three primary completed and remaining part become an extended part, and then we can create a multiple logical partition. So this is about your MBR. And one more point of MBR is MBR support up to 2 terabytes. In some places it is showing 2.2 terabyte. Better be careful with a 2 terabyte. 2 or a 2.2 terabytes, because people are writing in a different ways. So new things are coming. Okay, so one primary, one extended partition. Okay, in extended you can create multiple logical partitions, and it support up to 2 terabytes of the partition. Okay, next one is GPT. What is GPT? GUID, partition table. 128, sorry, 128 or 126? Yeah, 128 is mind. Okay, 128 partitions. Again, go to meeting column. I think I got late message. Go to meeting people can able to hear, right? Kavya, Vinod,
Yeah,
Lokesh.
we can hear you.
Yeah, right. Which partitions? Primary partitions we can able to create it. Okay, GUID partition table type means if you are initialized as a GUI GPT, you can create 128 primary and no extension, no extended partition. Okay, no extended is not there. Next, it support more than 2 terabyte also, or you can say 18 EB. Okay, in some places, it is showing 9.2 TB also. Sorry, not TB. ZB, zettabytes. Okay, in some places, but As I seen in a Red Hat textbook and Microsoft textbook, they given EB. Okay, so this is about your GID partition table. So 128 primary partitions we can create it. No extended, no logical. No extended means no logical partitions. Okay, support more than 2 terabytes. Okay, and stuff. And it is I'll put a and so maximum 128 TB disk. Okay, so some places it is showing 9.4 or 9.2 ZB also, zettabytes, like that also it is showing here. Mm. If you want you can see the range, yeah, 128. Okay, so you can see like this terabyte, mm, petabyte, like this. Okay. You can go to the different sizes from like this. Anybody new or it's a little bit difficult to remember, right? So I will say kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte, exabyte, zettabyte, yottabyte. Okay, these are all bytes only. Okay, so everything is only sequence only we can able to remember. The you can go through the sequence. They are go to kilobyte wise. We don't require separately. I will put this one here. We know what is this byte kind of stuff. Okay, 1024 bytes are 1 kilobyte. So 1024 kilobyte, 1 megabyte. 1024 megabyte, 1 gigabyte. 1024 gigabyte, 1 terabyte. 1024 terabytes, 1 petabyte. 1024 petabytes, this is 1 exabyte. It means 1024 into 1024 into 18. That much of size it will support. Okay, just for a table purpose. I think you know the bytes, bits kind of stuff. If you don't know, also I can give that table also, no problem for me. Okay, so this is about your GPT. Just one more drawing I have to take, right? So I take a drawing like this. How many partitions you can create? There is a one more point I have to include, so that I will add it here now only. So like we can create primary, 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 all are primaries only. Okay. So one more point I want to include here, it is if you are using a BIOS based firmware, like your motherboard normally comes with a BIOS kind of firmware. Okay, so you attach a new disk, like you purchase a new computer, fresh computer, and a fresh hard disk, and BIOS based motherboard or a operating system. Means your operating system is BIOS based operating system, like Windows 7 XP. It's a BIOS based operating system, not UEFI based operating system. And your motherboard is also BIOS based. Okay, so either one or both, either your motherboard or your operating system, or both are BIOS basis only. So automatically your disk. will be initialized as a MBR. Disk will be initialized as a MBR. So remember that point. Okay. So maybe like you install a Windows 10. Windows 10 is a UEFI based operating system. Of course, it supports the older one. New one is UEFI. Okay. Um, if you install in a BIOS mode, in a your hardware is BIOS, Windows 10 you are installing. So obviously disk is MBR. Okay. And your motherboard is UEFI type, means BIOS plus UEFI type, and you are installing Windows 7. Disk type is MBR, means either your motherboard or operating system or both are in a BIOS mode. So automatically your your disk is initialized. The fresh disk, you are inserting a new disk and you are installing operating system in the disk. Automatically it is initialized as a MBR. UEFI. This is another type of firmware. This is a updated version of BIOS. Okay, so BIOS later now we are, if you purchase any new hardware, 64-bit hardware, so all are 64-bit hardwares only. Any new hardware now currently, both Intel and AMD, both are new hardware is 64-bit only. 32-bit is not manufacturing now. Okay, so UFI means unified extensible firmware interface. Unified extensible firmware interface. UEFI based OS and motherboard. Okay, both should be UEFI. Your operating system and BIOS both should be UEFI. Then your the fresh hard disk. Whenever you put a hard disk, it is a GPT type of hard disk. Okay, so here I'm writing it is motherboard. Your motherboard type. Motherboard means you have a ROM chip. The ROM chip contains your BIOS, right? And or your operating system. OS is BIOS. Either both or one, at least one. So then we consider MBR type of disk only. Okay. Next, your motherboard wise, like a ROM chip is UEFI and OS. Also, UEFI. What happened? One second, wait. Something happened. Okay. And operating system also UEFI base. Then obviously your disk is initialized as a GPT. Like yesterday I shown my while I installing my server, right? So I showed it is a GPT type of one. Okay, because I put a mode is UEFI mode. Voice is also UEFI type. Then only it is GPT type. Here compulsory both are in a UEFI mode only. Okay, got the point, guys. What is the difference between MBR and GPT? This one, it is earlier support up to 2 terabytes, maximum 4 primary partitions per drive, means per hard disk. Okay, maximum of 128 partitions per drive, so 18 exabyte. So different type of disk are there, basic disk, dynamic disk, disk volume. Okay, we'll go to that one later. So basic disk and dynamic disk is there. So first of all, I will save this one. Okay, look at here. This is a disk. Okay, I am creating a partitions on the disk, right? So MBR, GPT, whatever it is, we are creating multiple partitions. It means whenever you have a disk, for example, your disk is 500 GB hard disk. You have a 500 GB hard disk, and you are dividing a disk into small parts. You are dividing disk into small parts, right? Hmm. Why we are creating into small parts? 500 GB hard disk. The first partition is, for example, operating system purpose. It is a C drive, and I given 100 GB for this one. Okay. Next, I want to put some my personal files into the D drive. Okay. Personal files means my applications, downloaded applications, or maybe my PDFs, books are like that. So I given 100 GB for that one. Okay, I have a virtual machines. I put all my virtual machines here. Okay, so I put all my virtual machines here. So I need a 200 GB. Okay, miscellaneous, anything like extra downloaded movies kind of stuff. I given 100 GB here. So 500 GB is completed. Okay, this is for a personal, like this. For a OS, personal, virtual machines, what I said here, miscellaneous kind of stuff. Okay, so instead of maintaining data, every data into the one place, so I can separately maintain the data in a different drive. To do that one, what I done, so I go to the disk management. So I created a different partitions for a different purpose, like that. Okay, just like in my PC. So here it is, my C drive, mainly operating system and application installation kind of stuff is there. This is basically drivers are located. My copied, downloaded drivers are some small applications or one or two photos kind of stuff. E drive is your class videos, mainly all are your class videos only. F drive is my personal data. Usually, like I downloaded few things, applications, and all like that there, and as well as um, my documents related kind of stuff. I given in F drive. So operating system related one means images we download now. So most of the operating system I put it in a G drive, and H drive is a H drive mainly consists of your virtual machines only. Okay, like that. So different vibes, so it is easy to access my data because of I created a folders and drivers in separately. So this is, we call it as a partitioning. Here, whenever you divide a single hard disk into multiple parts, so then we call it as a partition. Logically we are dividing single hard disk into multiple partitions. Logically or virtually also you can say. Storage virtualization is there, no? Nothing it is. What is partitioning or a partition? Logically divide a disk, okay, disk or a hard disk into multiple partitions. Nowadays, this thing also called as simple volume. Partition option is not coming. Now we are getting a simple volume option. It is a single disk. We are dividing into multiple partitions, right? So, for this purpose, the disk type is generally basic disk. Disk type is a basic disk. So in the basic disk, we can use as a single partition or multiple partitions in single disk. Okay. So in a basic disk, it is a single disk only, and we create a multiple partitions. Of course, why I am telling like this kind of stuff, you will get a doubt. So I'll go to another example. So then it is quite easy to understand. This is a two hard disk are there. Each size is maybe same or different sizes. You can take it any size. You can take it, but take same size only. I'm taking same size for example, just for example. Okay, so this is a disk, another disk. So for example, this is a um, disk one. Okay, so this is a disk two. Okay, so this is a disk one and this is a disk two. Name of the disk. I want to combine these disks. I want to combine these disks as a single volume. Okay, I want to combine disk 1 and disk 2 as single volume. Okay, so if I want to combine logically, so I don't open the disk and combine, right? So combine logically. Logically I'm combining it. To do that one, so you have to convert the disk into dynamic disk. Okay, so we have to convert this disk into dynamic disk, then only we can combine. So when you are combining this thing, so those we call it as a volumes. Okay, so those we can call it as a volume. So this is a volume. Okay, this is a volume combinedly. So different type of volumes are there. So different type of volumes are there, like a and volume, shipped volume, mirror, ride 5. Okay, these are different type of volumes are there. So what is the actually volume means? It's a combination of multiple disks logically. What is a partition means? Division of a disk logically. Okay, dividing a single disk into multiple partitions is called a partitioning. Volume means combination of multiple physical disks into single volumes. Single volumes. So this is a thing. So to get a volumes, to do volumes, you have to convert a disk into dynamic disk. And one more point in the dynamic disk is once you are convert into dynamic disk, okay, we cannot install operating system. Okay, in a dynamic disk you can't install the operating system. Dynamic disk and volumes are specifically for storage purpose only. Storage purpose only. So you can see here it is basic disk initialized for a basic storage, default storage for Windows operating system. Dynamics be modified without restarting Windows system. Provide several points of configuring volumes, different type of volumes. Disk volumes required included a system volume for hardware specific files that are started server, boot volume, Windows file systems, whatever it is. Guys, understand what is a basic disk? It's a single disk type only. It means it's a we can um, but basic disk is a disk, a hard disk. So, but before that one, I'm going to tell what is partition. Okay, partitioning. It means divide divide a disk into multiple partitions, or we can say drives. Like different drives, we can logically we are saying like C drive, E drive, F drive. We are telling it is a drive. Drive means a disk, but it is not really a single disk, right? It is a single partition, and it is divided from the same hard disk only. So that is called a partitions. Okay. So nowadays this is also calling as a simple volume. When you see a simple volume, it means it is a single partition. Okay, when you are creating a simple volume means you are creating a simple partitions. So basic disk is used to store or install OS. We can install OS in this one, and we can divide disk into multiple simple volumes or partitions, you can say. Okay. Next, dynamic disk. So what is this dynamic disk? We'll see. Before going to dynamic disk, I'm say com, com, combine two or more disk, two or more disk into single volume. Difference is there, simple and single. Single means one, simple means just a partition. Okay, into a single volume. Okay, is called a concept is volume concept. Okay, single volume. Logically we are adding or virtually we are adding. Okay, so different type of volumes are there. So of course one is a simple volume, but combination wise, simple volume means single disk partition, but here it is spanned volume. Okay, spanned volume, stripped volume, mirror RAID 5, of course RAID 6 is also there. So these are the different type of volumes. So what is this dynamic disk? So can't install, cannot install operating system, used for creating volumes. Means when you are creating a stripped span or a mirror volume, so we can convert basic disk into dynamic disk. We can convert basic disk into dynamic disk. We can convert a basic disk into dynamic disk without loss or remove data, and without loss of data means without losing any data. Like currently I have a basic disk, I can convert into dynamic directly. Okay, without format, without remove any partitions. Okay, without remove or loss of data, and restart. Okay, so without restart of PC, okay, without restarting it will convert. But here it is, we cannot convert a dynamic disk into basic disk without losing data. Okay, without anyway we can't convert it. We cannot convert a dynamic disk into basic disk. That's why, some people, when we show the practical compulsory, I said use virtual machines only. Lot of people, they do in a physical machine, they convert a basic disk into dynamic disk. So when you converted it, you cannot convert it back, so you have to remove all partitions and data, complete format, you have to clean entire disk, then only it will convert into basic disk automatically. Okay, so without losing data we can't do it, so we have to compulsory remove all partitions. Meaning is, you have to remove all existing partitions, exactly say all partitions, and or we can say delete all partitions, existing partitions. Okay, so this is a about your basic disk and dynamic disk. And also I told volumes, this is, we will explain that one, I will explain that one also. Guys are okay up to now? So I told MBR, GPT, MBR, master boot record, 4 primary or 3 primary, one extended. In one extended, we can create a multiple logical partitions. So how many? It depends upon it. Okay, usually like we have a 24 means 26. AB is reserved. So 24 C, D, E, F like that it is there now. So like we have to calculate. So A to Z letters. No A, B, A, C kind of partitions we can't create it. But we can create a multiple partitions also. Like 128 primary. Then we have a letters are limited. Okay, we don't have 128 letters, right? So then how to do it? Like we are mounting into different file system. NTFS mounting system they're using here. Okay, and MBR support up to 2 terabyte of disk, and GPT support more than 2 terabytes of disk, maximum 18 EB. So MBR type will usually from disk initialization by default from BIOS, kind of stuff like your motherboard or operating system BIOS type, automatically your main disk, the fresh hard disk, automatically become MBR for installation at the time of installation. This is install OS into fresh PC. Fresh means very fresh. No operating system, no partitions. Hard disk does not contain anything. Fresh hard disk, fresh PC, fresh hard disk means disk does not contain any data. In that time, it is initialized as a MBR. And if both are UEFI based, OS and your motherboard means your ROM chip is UEFI, then automatically it is GPT. Gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte, exabyte, zettabyte, yottabyte is the sequence. Partitioning means usually like dividing a disk into multiple simple okay, divide a disk into multiple partitions. Okay, so each one we call it as a drive. C drive, E drive, F drive is there, no, like that one. So usually in a basic disk we install operating system, and also we can create a multiple uh, simple volumes or a partitions we can create it. Okay, dynamic disk is used to create a volumes. Dynamic disk are used to creating a volumes. Different type of volumes are there, like a span volume, stripped volume, mirror volume, write five. And in a dynamic disk, by default, Windows operating system we can't able to install it. Okay, so we can convert a dynamic basic disk into dynamic disk without loss of any data. Even though the basic disk contains the operating system, we can convert into dynamic. Okay, basic disk contains OS, and I convert basic disk into dynamic disk, it works. But in a dynamic disk, you want to install a operating system, we can't install it. That's the problem. Okay, we can't install OS in dynamic disk. You convert a disk into dynamic, you can't install OS. But in a basic, already OS is there, we can convert the basic disk into dynamic disk, and you don't lose any data here. But if you want to convert it back like a basic disk, sorry, dynamic disk into basic disk without losing data, you can't do it. Okay, so that is it. Last time someone is told, not in our class, not here, my previously someone converted their basic disk into dynamic disk. If you want to revert it back, you need a third party tools, or maybe you have to search in any command line tool is available. Okay, any command line tool is available. So in Windows, to manage this partitioning and all, so we are using one is disk management. So you can open in a run. So the short form is mgmt dot msc. So go to that one and you can open it and we can manage the disk. Another one is in a cmd command line tool is disk part. This part is a command, and you have to go to disk part, and then we can cmd run as administrator, then put a command. So for cmd part, you have to open cmd, run as administrator, then use command disk part. Okay, then inside a disk part, you can type different commands like this. Disk part. So here it is shows some commands. I'm telling one or two only. List disk. You can find a list disk kind of stuff. I'm writing in a bottom. Next, select disk. You have to select which disk it is, like a select disk 0, list volumes, list partitions, list partitions, select partitions, like a partition 3, for example. And if you put a clean, means the partition will be deleted automatically. Never use this one. Okay, just like for a listing purpose only. Okay, and of course there is a lot of comments are there. Just you can put a question mark or a help, then you will find lot of comments and you can list it. But problem with this one is some people try on their physical machine. If you clean your disk one or a disk zero or a pen drive, so what happened by accidentally, people won't listen always completely, right? So even you given a suggestion, don't follow the tail suggestion. They go with their own suggestion, right? So what happens? Problem will occur. Okay, guys. Anybody remember in a Linux disk partitioning? Two commands we use it. One is fdisk and other one is gdisk. Generally, GPT management, so we use gdisk. Okay, MBR type of disk we use fdisk in generally, but of course fdisk can be used for both the things also. Okay, there is a small problems will also there in the initialization kind of stuff. We can get it. Okay. Um, in a Linux, disk names are little bit different. So in a Linux, we have a dev SDEA, okay, kind of stuff. So this is the like disk name. Partition names are like this. Example SDEA 1, dev SDEA 2, like that. Okay, so the partitions are look like this. So this is the main disk. This is the partitions in the disk. I'm not going in a deep of each and everything. Okay, so this is it. About first two slide or three slide, two slides only I completed. Yeah, file system is also there. Let's take a break. 10 minutes break is enough, I think. Understood up to now, or you want to go through once again? Better to go once again. My point is.